All right, 54321. We are live here at the WNZF Newsroom studio, and we are doing our episode of Lifeline. Danielle Anderson, your host, bringing you positivity in our community. And we have Carmen Stanford in the studio today. So thanks for coming in, Carmen.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I think we're going to be talking about something really interesting today. And I know for many, many women, it's an issue that they have faced at some point in their life or their working career. So, for people who haven't met you, tell them a little bit about who you are and what you do, or about
So,
yourself.
I'm Carmen Stanford. I been a Flagler resident for I would say about 15 years, and I think some people in the community may know me since I've started a Flagler parent group about 10 years ago that I have been moderating, but probably a little bit more than that. I've been educating parents, navigating the education system. And I think more people, though, may know me in the community because of my daughter's nonprofit, My Love's Canine. So I think that, yes, I'm Emma's mom.
Giving you a chance to roll it out.
Yes. But most importantly, I have been a stay-at-home mom. I haven't really had an official job. I haven't worked for someone. My sort of job, which doesn't quite sound right, but it's been raising Emma, being there for my daughter for the past 17, 18 years.
I think a lot of moms would disagree and say, that's the biggest job you could ever have.
It is, but as I am considering returning to the workforce, I realize that some of the skills may not necessarily translate for employers. And I think that's the difficult part because it is a job. It's actually a really difficult job raising children. And when you decide to go back to work, then you start questioning yourself whether what have I done really in the past? How many years? It's different for every mom, but what am I going to show? What can I put on papers that actually shows that I do have certain skills that employers would value?
Yeah, and that's really kind of tough, because it seems, you think, okay, these are things that I do every day, and it just seems like. But then when you start to break it down, I've seen some of these things where they break them down. They're like laundry service. How much is the value of that?
Right.
And accounting and bookkeeping because you're managing the household finances.
Yes.
What's the value of that? Childcare alone. What is that, $500 or $600 a week for one
Yes.
child? So all of those skills, when you're able to kind of put them into I don't know, kind of define them in a way that people look at them from a workforce
Yes,
standpoint.
where an employer can look at it and actually value it as a certain skill that's important for them. The other thing is, I think a lot of times the soft skills that we essentially use every single day with our children, and they are so important at the workforce. Adapting to the environment, problem solving, critical thinking. How do you put these on your resume? That it doesn't just say, well, I've been home for all these years and this is what I've been doing with my child. It's difficult. It's really difficult. And for me, I decided to venture out into the workforce to try anyways. And when I sat down to write my resume, I was a little bit lost, even though it's not like I have been just raising my child. I have been doing a lot of other things, but I'm seriously lost. Where do I start? How do I write my resume that they can look at it, any employer can look at it and value what I have done?
So with the parents, Flagler Parents Group, do you see other moms talking about these kinds of issues?
I haven't really brought it up. We haven't really had this discussion. What I do see on the page, there are a lot of stay-at-home moms. So I would assume at some point everyone is considering going back to work. I have seen moms trying to find jobs, whether it's a lot of times they are seeking jobs from home, anything that they can do remote because childcare is an issue and you do have to be home. And this is the hard part, I think, for us moms is that we sort of make the sacrifice. We give up our careers because we do. And for every family, is different why they do it. It could be, financially, it just really doesn't worth it for the mom to go out, or whatever the reason is. We give up 3 years, 15 years, 18 years, whatever it is, but it's just not valued. I feel like it's not necessarily valued. When I started doing my research about stay-at-home moms going back to work, I realized how 93% of us face some kind of obstacle. How do we address that gap in our resume? And to me, it's like, why should we have to address that gap? Like, we should be proud to say that, I took some time and I stayed home with my child. And I essentially raised someone, a productive member of this society,
Right.
right? Because it is all about the future generation. But it is a problem. And I just hope anyone who's listening, maybe they can look at it differently. They can look at us in a different way to say, okay, let's just really think about what my wife does at home while I'm at work. Because I think we also take the burden off of our spouses.
Right.
Or at least in my family, I know that my husband didn't have to worry about anything. That was one of the reasons. So he can work, he can pursue his career while I am home taking care of our child. So this way, hey, your daughter's sick. We don't need to worry about who's going to pick her up from school or who stays home with her. And I mean, there's so many issues.
Well, I think that society makes a place when they say, okay, veterans that are coming out of the military, they have a skill set, they have value, they bring something to
Yes.
the table. So maybe we can kind of transition in society to look at mothers who are coming out of stay-at-home mom, to have those same kinds of benefits. What are those skills that translate? What is your value? What do you bring to the table?
Right, and oftentimes stay-at-home moms do also run. I just read one stay-at-home mom runs on Airbnb. So yet when she went out to look for a job to work for someone, she still had a hard time because no one would really look at her skills that at home. I don't know, maybe society thinks of us. I know there are people who assume that we just sit home with our feet up and, drinking coffee all day, watching TV. I wish.
Right.
But that's really not the case. I think we do so much more. So yes, how do we transition those skills? But I think, it's not just stay-at-home moms. Actually, veterans have difficult times often to transition into the civilization after service.
I
So
always I always hear in business though that they're like, oh, if you've been in the service, we really want to bring you on board because you've got these amazing skills, and moms should have the same could have the same type of preference, or at least courtesy of looking at their resume and saying, wow, you did do all these things. So how would you
yes.
translate? How would you kind of like lay out your resume for the skills that you've done by staying at home?
So this is a difficulty for me. I've always worked with children. So I used to teach English as a second language, um, or as a foreign language. So, and then I worked with special needs children for a few years in England. So when I look at, my problem is that what I want to continue doing? Do I want to go back working with children, or do I want to do something else now? Because Emma Love's Canaan is kind of open up my eyes to a different kind of world. I really loved what we did. We did as a family. I loved the fundraising. So can I put that on my resume? I mean, it was essentially my daughter's. So can I do that? The skills that I learned, is that enough though? Because it was such a short time. Is that enough to put on my resume? Is that going to be valued? So this is what I'm personally struggling with.
And so, listeners who may not know, your family actually started a nonprofit organization
Right.
that went national,
Yes,
and
yes,
you started from just a little project here in Flagler County, and you
yes,
grew it, to something that was recognized by law enforcement at a national level. So, going and getting the 501c3,
yes,
managing the finances every month, promoting the event, delivery of the product, because, tell listeners a little bit about what you guys were doing.
So it's funny you say, delivering the product, marketing the product, because now when I look back about of Emma's Canines, I was essentially doing the marketing. I mean, with Emma's help, and there's, I think your biggest critic is your child, really. I mean, so talking about bosses, like,
Yeah.
we would create something and she'd be the first, no, that's horrible, without even, okay, what do we change? What do you want to do? I don't know. This just doesn't look good. So, so basically what we did, we fundraised for canines, working police dogs. But the biggest accomplishment, I would say, was actually the canine law that Governor DeSantis signed. That
Oh, we'll get to that part next,
okay,
because
okay,
that puts you in a different category with like the lobbyists.
okay.
You're
See that? I like
doing big
that.
stuff.
That's I didn't even think about that. But so basically, my daughter had found this plushie that she really liked, and that's where the idea came to fundraise for. It started off with Flagler Sheriff's Office alone. Well, she just wanted to make the plushie of the Flagler canines, and then from there, the idea grew that maybe we could raise money, and. So we actually raised over $10,000, more than that, for the Flagler canines. We purchased them a shed, and then we just grew into 13 states where canine officers would come to us, and then we would deliver the product, the mini canine of their own working dog, and the profit went back to them, basically.
So, and it was very successful, really well loved,
Yes.
and the thing is you are sitting here as a mom saying, gee, I don't know if I did anything, worth putting on my resume. And the fact is that you started a nonprofit that was successful and did exactly what you said you were going to do. You met your mission.
Yes.
And then on top of it, it was so successful that you got the attention of the governor's office and the state legislature to do additional things.
Yeah. So basically, when we find out that the retired canines don't get any funding anymore, it was our mission to find a way to fund them, and we were trying to figure out how can we help them when one of the state lawmakers, Mr. Killebrew, introduced a bill, and then so we reached out to him. We sent one of our plushies, and he immediately responded. So we started working with him, and actually Emma had to send over, because at the time we went to the mayor as well. So Emma had to do a presentation to the mayor. We had to figure out how are we, because we wanted the city to pay for the dogs, for the retired dogs, for the medical bills. So we had to sit down, write a presentation. What was our idea? So the same thing we sent to the state lawmakers, so they were able to look at it, and we were a part of the legislation. So yes, it passed, and it is helping a lot of retired canines with medical bills.
And I remember being here covering it, and the governor came
Yes,
here
yes, for
and
Emma, and
called Emma out,
yes,
to sign this bill. And so, what that does is it gives you skills in the advocacy front. And
yes.
you sit here and don't think about that,
I
but that's all part
don't.
of it.
It never. It's funny because when I think about the advocacy, I think about more in education, what I did in education. A lot of people don't realize with the Flagler Parent group is that a lot has happened in the background. That sometimes parents are not comfortable coming forward. So I earned their trust, a lot of them. I earned a lot of parents' trust, and they would message me. So I would reach out to the school district, and we would make sure that we help the parent or the child.
So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to talk about how you've been impacting education in Flagler County, and really how to identify more of those skills that you do bring to the table. So we'll be right back. You doing good?
Yes.
Okay, ready? You take a quick drink.
How quick is okay.
All right, so we are back with Powerhouse Carmen Stanford in the studio, and she's discovering all these amazing skills that she actually has that are marketable, that she didn't
Right.
realize that she had. And I think that this, I hope that listeners are taking away from this. It's really easy just to sit back and say, I don't think I've done anything, or it's
Yes.
hard to identify what you've done. And then when you start to talk to someone else about the things you've done, they're able to kind of show you, you have all these things that you can put on a resume.
Yes, I mean, and you just mentioned it. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I did that. I mean, I did advocate for parents. I advocated for canines. But a lot of times, because I never really took the front seat in anything. So I was always in the background, and I enjoy that. I really enjoy that. I mean, Emma Loves Canines, it's Emma, it's the face of that, which granted, it was her idea. So, but, she was a child when she started it. As adults, as parents, we had to be there, we had to help her. And with Fragile Parents page, well, I think sometimes I don't want to be a face of it, even though everything that we have accomplished. But there's been a lot of backlash as well, a lot of threats that comes with it. So I don't always look at it as a positive thing. And
But you are bringing those issues to the forefront.
I do, yes, I always have. And that is correct. I always try to fix it. Someone from the school district told me that the one thing that they like about me is that when I don't just fight for one child or my child, I fight for everything. And I don't just criticize and come in with the negativity, but I always come with a solution. And that stuck with me because I never really thought about it, but it really stuck with me. So I still apply that in my group every time there's an issue. Okay, how can we fix that? What can we do to make this better for everyone?
So when you're looking back on all these things that you have been able to do, what do you think, because when you're a mom and you're finished raising your kids, you're sort of like, okay, I'm done with that part. I don't want to raise anybody else's kids either.
Yes.
So like, what's an ideal job for moms who have been staying at home, or even for yourself?
I mean, I think I could see myself now that you mentioned in advocacy, but my heart is with children as
Is
much
it?
as yes, always has been. So as much as I'm like, I don't know if I want to be in education, um, but that's what I've done all my life. So it was always education. Something had to do with children. I don't know if I'm going to be able to avoid that.
Oh no, but that's where your heart is. That's where it is.
Yes, that's what I'm really. I think that's what I'm good at too. That's what I'm good at, and well, I hope Emma is a good example of
She's
the
a
way I
great.
raise her. You know,
She's a great kid. I mean, she's getting close to graduation, isn't she?
next year she's a senior. She has her first senior photo shoot today.
That's amazing.
It's scary. It's
No.
scary. Um, but because I have been home and everything that's been focused, around raising a child, and I've been very involved in education. At the same time, even though my heart is in it, I wonder if I'm ready, sort of, to step out of that a little bit and do something different, something that maybe I've never done before. I don't know, maybe something in the hospital that I could do,
Wow.
with patients, still. Not a nurse, I could never do that or anything like that, but anything that advocating for patients, or really just taking care of people, making a difference in people's lives. I think that's what I've done pretty much all my life.
What did you want to be when you were a little kid?
A teacher.
Did you?
I became a teacher. Yes,
So you did it.
I did. I used to teach English, so we start learning a foreign language in Europe at a very young age. So I used to do that, and then I used to teach business English for companies.
So, when you're sitting here thinking about all this, what do you think the community can do to help open doors for stay-at-home moms who want to get back into the workforce?
Just give us a chance. I think really just give us a chance. It's so difficult to even get a chance nowadays. Resumes are scanned by AIs. You don't even get a chance to just please look at our resumes, and we can address the resume gap. That though, and just don't dismiss that gap. Think about all the quality skills that we bring.
Do you think if there were like training workshops on resume writing, that would be helpful to stay-at-home moms, even if they were virtual, to kind of teach them, because some are staying at
Yeah,
home?
I think so. Yes, and especially translating the skills that we have. I think that would definitely help us. And there's quite a few of us, so I don't think I'm the only one in the community. That would definitely be helpful.
All right, that sounds good. So, is there anything like, sometimes they have additional education that you can take or training or things like that?
Yes. I mean, and I have done certain certifications, but it's like, you have to decide which direction you want to go. And some moms may know exactly where they want to go, so they can go back to school. I mean, FTC has some great opportunities for a parent or moms if you want to go back. Um, and they definitely help, but we just have to. The difficulty is for you to decide what do you want to do, and then someone to give you a chance.
I think that I'm hoping some of the employers out there are listening and saying, wow, we didn't realize there was a whole segment of the workforce that we haven't tapped into.
Yes.
So, how do you think we can connect those employers who are looking for reliable, dependable, respectful um, work workforce people? How can we connect them to the moms?
Well, I think this is the difficult part, because when you do your job search, a lot of times experience necessary, recent experience is necessary. They require that. So I don't locally. I mean, job fairs. I heard they are really helpful. That was recommended to me to go to like Advent Health job fairs because even though your resume may get rejected online, it's very different in person when you
Right.
start talking to them. So I think that would be really helpful.
So, somebody said they wanted to put together a stay at home mom job fair.
Oh, that would be awesome.
What would be like the ideal time of day and what day would be best?
Well, for me personally, it's any day. But if you think about, especially now, kids are home, so you can take your, if they're okay with taking kids, I would say that should be okay. But if you can take your children, I think, any time in the afternoon, it's a good time for us.
In the afternoon?
Yes.
Okay.
If kids are home, the mornings are busy, I think.
So, it was like, is the afternoon like nap time still, or is it?
It depends. But I think we can make the time. So I think any time would work. And stay-at-home moms we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. That's
So
for
a
sure.
kid-friendly afternoon-based job fair.
Yes. And that's the other thing. I think a lot of the stay-at-home moms, I think employers underestimate and undervalue our desire to work, to get out of the house and just be at work. Like, so I know I'm ready. I'm ready for a night shift. I'm ready for a 12 hours, 14-hour shift. I am ready to just be at work. And I'm sure I'm not alone.
When my kids were really little, my husband and I switched off. And so, that I didn't have to leave the kids with a babysitter. We would switch shifts. And I would go into and work the night shift and people were like, "Why are you so excited to be here?" And I was like, my kids are like 2 and 4. This
Yes.
is a break for me to come to work.
It's, yeah, our desire. We want to be out of the house. We want to be at work. And, when those who have been working, because I have talked to stay-at-home moms, they like, they envy our role. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Like, you have it way better. You get to go out. Just think about the values that you bring into your children's world. So, no, my life is not so much better because I stay home. I want to get out. I want to be at work too.
That is so awesome. And I hope that people are listening to this and being like, I had no idea that that's really how people felt.
I personally, I can't speak of everyone else, but I know I personally, I'm ready. I'm ready to do, I don't know, 20-hour shift, whatever it takes.
And it's not that you don't love your kids and you don't want to be at home. It's that
Right.
you want to.
It's a lot of people don't understand that being a stay-at-home mom, it's actually a very lonely place. It is, and we crave that adult interaction, which it doesn't really exist. So yeah, we want to be outside of the house. We want to go and be around adults and do something adult-like.
So they're ready to bring a positive attitude to your business.
Yes, yes.
Oh my gosh. So Carmen, can we make you like a contact if anybody wants to put together like a business fair or something like that, would you be willing to kind of help them
Oh,
or guide them?
absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
How can they get in touch with you?
Um,
Do you have an email address or something
yes.
that would work?
Yes. So they can email me at crmstan@yahoo.com.
All right. And if any employers out there or business minded people are looking for some great people to do jobs and join their workforce, let Carmen know. She'd be happy to help you and guide you. She does run the Flagler Parent, which, how many is that? Is it,
10 years.
how many people are in that group? It's a lot, right?
So we are at 5,400, a little bit over 5,400, almost 5,500.
Almost
Yes.
5,500 stay at home moms who might want a job.
Yes.
That's amazing. All right, we want to thank WNZF News Radio, Flagler News Weekly, the Vigilante Philanthropists, Massage by Natalie and Company, and our local Benjamin Moore paint store here in Palm Coast for sponsoring the show. And Carmen, thank you for like bringing this up. It's really cool to be able to talk about it, because most people don't talk about this.
They
So
don't. It's no, and no one really talks about what it's like to go back to work for stay-at-home moms.
awesome. We'll be rooting for you and all the stay-at-home moms to find joy and happiness in your future. So thanks.